Hi, my name's Michael and I'm a second year Law LLB student here at BCU. I was diagnosed with ADHD through the university because we've had suspicions for many years, but it took all the way until I got to university to actually put a nail in the wood and then actually go for it. And I went down the disability team and they worked through with me. And from figuring that out to actually finding out I'm very possibly dyslexic as well, so they come quite hand in hand. It kind of answered a lot of questions over nearly 2 decades.
Hi, I'm Harvey. I'm studying sound engineering and production. I'm in my 3rd and final year. And I was diagnosed when I was in maybe primary school, year 4. And it was after I got kicked out of school. I didn't know why, got in trouble a lot. And then I got tested because the teacher thought that I was a good kid, but just kept doing random stuff. And then from that point, I was medicated up until COVID, where I decided to get off medication. And then since I've been at uni, it's been a case of just, dealing with my own mentality and how to work alongside university with ADHD. And I also have dyslexia. Studying in silence is a killer for people with ADHD. Studying with distractions can sometimes help if they're distractions that aren't going to take your focus away from what you're doing. It's more of a background distraction, so you keep your brain occupied and stimulated whilst you can still concentrate on the same thing that you want to be focusing on. For me, I like to put records on in the background whilst watching a TV show that I watched so many times, The Office. I used to just have it up and in little corners, wherever it may be, whilst focusing on what I do, or going to a coffee shop without any headphones or anything and just trying to clock into everybody's conversation. That helps me quite a lot because then I can focus whilst the backside of my brain's being stimulated. If I don't do this, then for me it's a case of I get distracted within the main body of work and I'll just drift off. I won't do what I intended to do with the study and I'll just end up getting distracted and not knowing where I am, what I'm doing. So if I have the other distractions that blur all the stimuli around me, I can focus more on what I've got in hand.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of similar because it comes to you have the thing you want to focus on, say this piece of coursework or a bit of an essay, and I'll either put music on in the background, I'll have headphones on, but at the same time, even though I can't hear the TV, there'll be something on TV, something moving, so I can look up from the screen, see something, look back down, the work's still there, but I can do that thing where you can disassociate or pick things apart. So in a song especially, I can pick apart the percussion from everything else, so I can focus on the beat, tap my foot because then I'm engaged with it, but then I'm still fully focused on the work.
Yeah, also with the distractions, it's really important to have distractions that are something that can be blurred. So not like your phone, Instagram, things like that. Get it out of the room.
That's a bad TikTok.
Get it out of the room, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, any social media, anything that's gonna draw your attention so it's in front of you, you've got to get it out of the way.
If it's away from you, you can't go for it.
Yeah, so it's important to have that main thing you're focused on and then everything else is just a blurred distraction that isn't going to take your full attention.
Yeah, it's not passive.
Something else that's good is having things to fidget with. So techniques like this, just touching your fingers. I like to mess around with my ring, messing around with whatever's around you. Tapping can be annoying for others.
Yeah, I know.
But things like that, things to keep you stimulated in whatever way, to keep you focused on the main body of work.
The difficult side of it is when you kind of integrate that with the dyslexia side of things. You might be able to rinse this coursework off dead fast, but then you go and read through and you've created words that didn't exist. Your paragraphs don't make sense. You've overstimulated yourself to a point where you're comfortable, you're working, but you're typing so fast that you don't realise you typed something that makes no sense, but only you can understand it. So you have to go through, I've done it before, where I've had to go through with someone, explain what it means, and we've had to kind of reword it.
It's a process called rubber ducking. You do it in code.
Yeah.
So basically you go through it, you tell it to someone else, and then you find out what's wrong with it by telling it to somebody else. So you explain what you did. And with the spelling mistakes, it's always good to have something like Grammarly or spell check, constantly seeing what's read, changing it, but there's a danger with that if you are dyslexic that you change it to the wrong word. A lot of the time I end up putting ghosts, and instead of what I mean to, you know, a lot of random words that doesn't make sense in context, and when you read it back, it doesn't make sense at all. So writing little things for yourself so you know what you're talking about, maybe little bullet points of notes, things like that, to try and understand what you meant to say.
Grammarly Premium is what I use, and it's actually really good because, like, say I'll type something that might not make the most sense. Yeah, it'll change a few words to what they're not supposed to be, so I'll go through to type out, like, my spelling's all right, it's just the odd few words that'll trip you up. And then it'll read your paragraph essentially for you, condense it down, and then say, boom, I've saved you some words, and now it reads a lot better than it did before.
Another software, Read and Write Gold, I don't know if you use that, but it basically reads all of your text back to you as well in like loads of different voices that will keep you concentrated, because sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's too slow, doesn't hit you. Another thing, watching educational videos or something at 2 times the speed. For me, I love that. Yeah. Where you just keep it, keeps
watch
coming.
The film at double speed as well, you're like, whoa. Being able to focus academically, you have to have your breakaway, and this doesn't mean having things on in the background and your work and all this. You have to have something that's completely different, and for me that's like driving, or that's going on the racetrack or doing things like that. You have to have something that gives you that buzz, that satisfies you. Think of it like a sugar rush. And when you've been working, you've drained yourself out, and that'll help me recharge.
I go to the gym before, so you get a workout or do some sport, whatever it might be, tire your body out, tire your mind out, and then when you get to it, you're almost drained in a way you can only focus on it.
You're like mellowed out. When it comes to revision techniques and the way that people remember things, I'll start off with my day-to-day life, and this is with a huge A2 piece of paper. I write Monday to Sunday on it, and I try to write down some time frames. So on days where I'm at the gym, what muscle group I want to work on, days I'm not, what I'm going to do on my rest day, days I'm at uni, what I'm going into uni for, breaks, times, things like this. But it's a way of planning out your time to where you think you've got no time left. So when you do actually come across some free time, it's essentially a reward.
On that note of sort of like calendar and scheduling, I like to use the Teams calendar. So I normally set myself, like, I use my phone calendar, Teams calendar, and Google Calendar. Sometimes I have shared ones with people that I have meetings with. I have a lot of things placed on Teams, so it reminds you 15 minutes before. And then also having your calendar with you at all time, for me, is amazing. Because if I think I've got free time, I normally don't. So I should check my phone, see what it is, and then you can check it on your laptop. Make sure you've got a calendar or something visual that you can see at all times, so you know what you're doing with your time every day. And to the point of habit, I think habit's super important to try and get sort of like a work mindset. So you're up before like 9 o'clock, so you're making sure to make most of the day. I like to say, let us take a hold of the day, don't let the day take a hold of you, because if you don't start your morning right, then you're just going to lose the entire morning until like 12 o'clock.
The momentum just drops.
The momentum drops, you're going to be walking around the house not doing anything, and it's really important to get your strategies in place that suit you, and making sure you have habit that might not be related to work, but something that gets you out of bed focused and in the mindset of you're doing stuff is a really important thing to get you focused. And then on the point of study, to try and get you to work hard and trying to get you to revise, sometimes working in 30-minute bursts and then giving yourself a 10-minute break, 30-minute bursts, or however long you think your attention span can last. Work with it, not against it. Another important thing is when you have, it's called hyperfocus, when you're in the zone of work or you find something fascinating, don't stop yourself. Don't think you need to.
Oh, I've got that break.
Work
through it.
Exactly, and also even if it's not in the right direction of what you need to be studying at the time, it's still important to, you know, go down the rabbit hole of what you find interesting, because maybe in the future that is going to be important.
Don't compare yourself to others, and I know that's a really difficult thing to say, because you could have a mate that comes up to you like tomorrow and go, well, I've revised this unit, this unit, this unit. They might be able to absorb like a knowledge sponge, I am not a knowledge sponge. It doesn't work that way for me. It's the healthy balance of essentially living your life. Don't just put yourself on a desk and live at it, because one, it's not healthy. Two, you'll mentally drain yourself. And three, you'll wake up in the morning and go, oh great, I'm still in the same place as I was yesterday, about 10 foot away from the desk. You need to be getting out and you need to be doing different things, whether that be having a quad shot of espresso, having the caffeine boost and getting out of the house. But there's something for everyone. Please do not sit at a desk all day doing now, because personally for me, it drives me mental. I'd start calling at the walls if I was left in a big empty white room with the desk.
An important thing to say as well is that ADHD is a superpower. It's something that you can use for your advantage. It's not something that is negative. It's not something that you need to be worried about. It's not something that you need to be constantly thinking, oh, I'm not doing enough. The way that your mind works is the way that it works. Make sure that the way that you work is with your own mentality. So what you're doing has to be within the stride of how you think. And if that's studying hard with those hyper focuses, and that's making sure you get that down. Or if that's networking and communicating with lots of different people, you might end up on a different path entirely, but the path that you find is a path that suits you. And at university, it's a perfect place to experiment. It's a perfect place to just find out what you're good at, find out what you enjoy, and just run with it. Just make sure you're doing that hard and just catch up with everything else eventually.